So a little bit about Smash as well, and then Gareth. So just to remind you that we're film producers, Christine and I, we got together a few years ago, started creating a platform to try and make life easier for content creators to connect with decision makers. So what we've done, we're like a matchmaking platform. Maybe, Zoe, you've got a really good idea for a film, and Gareth, you're looking for a project. Maybe you work for a production company. The Smash platform will try and match you. So Zoe, you would upload your pitch, you would create a pitch on the Smash platform, and we help you securely share and track that. And Gareth, maybe, you're a production company, you're looking for documentaries that will appeal to, kind of specific groups of people, then we can match you.
Brilliant.
So we're in early stages, MVP stage. We've now got over 1,500 users. We were supporting the Glasgow Film Festival, and we have started making matches, which is really exciting for us. And now Paramount Plus are trialing the platform, Channel 5 are trialing the platform. And these decision makers are looking for innovative filmmakers. They're looking for their next big hit. So, it's quite an exciting time. But one of the reasons, and I know that Christine's standing by with a little video, our 90-second Smash video. But one of the reasons that we're really excited about this is film insurance is very, very important. And for every one of us who comes from a background as a producer, this is what you need. You can't move forward unless you have film insurance. And from personal experience, I've had to reshoot a whole short film that we had raised the money for because of a problem with the camera. And we had to get the insurance, and the insurance company were fantastic, and they stood beside us. We had to bring back our lead. It was a real nightmare at the time when we realized there was an issue. And if we hadn't have had insurance, we would have lost all the work that we had done. Everything would have gone because the film was unusable. So for me personally, it taught me a very, very valuable lesson. It's my very first short film about the value of insurance and how it's key to getting your projects safely made. So Christine, do you want to show us the little 90-second Smash video? And then Graham, we are going to quiz you.
Okay. There we go.
Cool.
Hopefully you can see it.
Share your screen.
Huh?
No? Are we okay? Can everybody see
Yeah,
that?
I can see it.
Yeah.
So you're a filmmaker dreaming of that big breakthrough, and you've got what it takes. A great film concept and a script that's on point and gives you goosebumps. What you need is a strong pitch that gets you in front of the right people. I mean, how hard can it be to design a winning pitch? Well, a great film pitch is much more than a catchy logline. Decision makers want to see a well-thought-out idea that meets an industry standard. Meet Smash, the game-changing platform that helps emerging content creators get your film off the ground and helps you pitch it. Smash is a unique collection of free digital tools that helps you articulate your story into a pitch-perfect, shareable presentation. Sounds great, right? So what can you do on Smash? You can create incredible industry-standard presentations. Add your creative team, cast members, a finance plan, and even scripts or treatment. Everything a commissioner needs to make a decision. Our partnership with Getty Images gives our users free access to millions of high-resolution, non-watermarked images and videos to create dazzling mood boards. And if the thought of creating complex finance plans keeps you awake at night, don't worry, we've got you covered. Smash is plugged into a network of film sales companies who can provide you with professional feature film sales estimates. And that's not all. Protecting your IP is super important, and that's where the Smash Pitch Protector comes in. Your project is safely recorded and tracked on Smash so that you are always in control. There's a new word for film pitch presentation. Smash.
Great, thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Gareth, we all love making films. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this business.
Well, my story is actually quite weird. I actually started my career as a professional footballer, believe it or not. Yeah.
Oh.
So, injury cut my career short, unfortunately, at quite a young age. So I had to get a proper job. Um, and I didn't like get my hands dirty, so I was a sort of plasterer's mate for a while. And then I just literally started temping for an insurance company. So I was temping for them. Then I went from a clerical assistant to an assistant underwriter, who they've evaluate the risk that you get, etc. And then underwriter. I was actually approached by a broker because I was dealing with their risk quite a bit, to then become a broker, because obviously insurers and brokers are two totally different things, whether you know it or not. So the broker you'll come there with a risk, and you'll go to the underwriter to insure that risk. So and then 12, maybe 13 years ago, I got offered a job at Performance, who specialize in media, because insurance is quite boring. I'm not going to lie. But media insurance, I love my films, and it's sort of something that really appealed to me. So I've applied for the job and haven't looked back since. I now run a team of 4 in the sort of new business team, and there's 13 of us in total here at Performance. But again, we are part of a sort of larger global group who do all insurances. We are just a media specialist, and the brand name is Performance. So that's my story. Yeah.
Okay. And can you then tell us a little bit about how, if I'm a filmmaker, or Zoe or Dea or Brent have a film, how the process works, or they're in production for something, how the process works from your perspective, and at what point do you want us to get in touch with you and work with you, and what would you cover us for?
Yeah. Well, I think people originally, again, your brilliant video discuss sort of budget. I think people want to sort of get involved with the budget stage. And again, being a broker, we know roughly what insurers charge. It's normally charged on a certain percentage of the budget. So it's quite easy for us to give you some sort of figure. There are dependents on obviously what the final premium is going to be, such as territories you're filming in, whether there's any stunts, that type of stuff. But we can give you a rough sort of estimate, and we normally sort of overestimate and things like that. We also discuss other insurances, because people think I'm making a film, I just need production insurance. Sometimes there may be little other insurance pieces that you need, the likes of sort of motor insurance when you're filming on what's called under the Road Traffic Act. So the roads didn't close, it's not a private land, etc. You need little things like that. And then when you're lucky enough to complete the film and you go to sales agents, broadcasters, and financiers, they will insist on errors and omissions insurance. So it covers the actual content that you've created for any any IP sort of copyright infringements, that type of stuff. So yeah, so there's a wide range of insurances. We'll start with the production insurance. The production insurance, again, it's normally off the set budget, and it does cover most insurers we approach. Again, as I mentioned, we are a broker, so we'll approach insurers to get you the most competitive premiums. Most of the insurers we approach have the same covers within their production package policy. So you'll have the normal fundamental assets, so your equipment, whether it be owned or hired equipment, property of others as well. So property of others would be things that aren't under a hire contract. So again, if you hire a kit from a kit's house, they normally have a hire contract between yourselves and them to hire the equipment, which transfers what's called insurable interest to yourself or the production. Then you've got the liability aspect. So again, employers' liability doesn't have to be people paid. People think that it's people paid. They're not employed. Don't pay them. Not in PAYE. Anyone working on the production, whether paid or unpaid, would be deemed as an employee under the employee definition. Right. So they'd be covered under the employer's liability. For yourself, Brent, over in the North America, it's a workers' compensation. It would be classed over there. So it would. Then you've got the other aspects. So again, if you're in a studio, hiring locations, etc., it would be classed as public liability here in the UK, or general liability again in the States. So what it protects against is 2 things. One would be damage to third-party property. So again, if you damage equipment within the studio or a location, etc. Some examples again of public liability claims are maybe an SFX, someone dropping fake blood on a rented property in a house, those type of things. So they do happen. And again, that's another reason why you do buy insurance, because these things do happen on production, unfortunately, and that's why you need to protect yourself. Otherwise, it is coming out of your pocket, I'm afraid, if you don't insure yourself. So then there's the sort of the sort of production covers, we would call them. Some insurers call them different. Some call them producer indemnity and multimedia. Others call them cast and media. But it can be quite misleading because cast does include obviously crew members as well. So it would cover normally the whole budget or sometimes the insurable aspect of the budget for any delays, cancellation or abandonment. So normally set within the budget or on the budget. So again, the sort of percentage. So for argument's sake, claims that happen, these type of claims are if an integral part of the cast or crew gets injured, ill, and you either had to delay the production, you'd be covered what you up to the delay costs. Because again, somebody may have a schedule, they can't shoot for another week, couple of weeks or months or whatever it may be. You get the additional cost to complete the budget. Complete the shoot, within the budget. And then there's the non-physical aspect, if it's on layman's terms. So that's whatever way you back things up, whether it's on memory card, whether it's still on film, which people still do. If it gets lost, damaged, or stolen before it's backed up or processed, then there's cover for that under the media aspect of the policy. Within most standard production insurance, you do get what's little things like animal mortality. So again, if you're using animals within the production as standard, you get action vehicles. So again, I referred to the additional cost. So the action vehicles does only cover you when the vehicles are being used not under the Road Traffic Act. So private land, car parks, shut off roads, that type of stuff. Once you do drive it on a public road, then you will need additional motor insurance. So that's probably one thing that does trip people up. That there's a slight confusion with that, and again, that's why I always say to have what I tend to do with my clients is have a call like this, go through the whole production, so we can get things ironed out at the start. So there's no obviously tripping over and things like that. So know exactly what you're doing when you're doing it. And then again, the other things to be wary of and what insurers will probably insist on. If you're using any specialists within the production, they will make sure, so specialists that I mean like the likes of drone operators, again, weaponry, so armorers, again, animals, so again, wranglers, that type of stuff, just to make sure they have their own specialist insurance in place.
Right.
Reason being, again, is that obviously you're overseeing the whole production, but we also recommend that they're the specialists of this. They should have the specialist insurance for it. And again, it takes the liability away from you, because even though you may set up what's called an SPV or special purpose vehicle for the said production, you still have to declare any claims if you're the producer on it. So it does sort of work against you from time to time. If you get someone in that does something wrong, and you will be penalised, and you'll be asked about that for further productions. Then again, I mentioned the errors and omissions insurance. This is probably, again, a little bit harder to gauge, because it actually covers the content. So if it's an original piece, that obviously not the more things are, the more sort of liable things are documentaries, or if there's a subject matter within the production. These are normally, again, I can't say too much, but I've recently just done the A&O for a high-profile world leader, and obviously they're quite obviously well known. They've got a lot of money to make claims against people, because unfortunately that's what errors and omissions would protect against. Anyone, it covers against legal defense costs. So again, if someone's got a lot of money and they sue you, they can sue you and they'll probably try and win. But again, the UK comes down to sort of negligence, and they have to be right. So Yeah, so there's things like that on the errors and omissions insurance that it's sort of harder to gauge for the premium because it is provided cover for the content, and it is sort of harder to know exactly what the premium is. So I go back to refer to when we start off, I had to say exactly what's within the production to then sort of give a rough estimate for the likes of your budgeting purposes and things like that.
So when you talk about your, kind of putting together a budget, a rough budget, as producers, we're always thinking, how much would that cost? How, kind of if I'm putting together a really working budget, how much should I allow for insurance as a percentage of the overall budget?
I normally recommend about 1%.
1%.
Yeah. And again, I was always going to cover because I probably thought I was going to be asked about it. Obviously, with COVID, unfortunately, when COVID hit, all insurers, they did pay out, but they also excluded COVID straight away. So COVID claims weren't covered. And again, you probably were, but the government set up a COVID scheme, which again was an additional cost on top of your production insurance. But again, that unfortunately has gone. COVID is still around. We all know that. And unless you get something to an integral part, so an important cast or crew member to the production, then you may be okay. So my advice on that type of stuff would be put a little bit more fat on your contingent budget just for those type of losses, because fingers crossed and touch wood that they're not as serious as they were when COVID first came out. So that's the sort of advice I'm giving at the moment, because there is no cover. Again, some people do insure it, and I can't sort of name, but it's the financial, but they have to be involved in the production in some way.
And can I ask that 1%? Would that include the E&O insurance?
That's just for the production insurance.
Okay.
So it is.
Because Daya and Zoe, you're finishing your feature, and E&O, from my experience, is a necessary insurance in order to release your film. So you can't release your feature unless you've got E&O insurance or cover.
Broadcasters and sales agents will insist on under the contract, and they normally stipulate, again, when the sort of content's broadcast, and no matter what platform it is, they've got a certain amount of time to make a claim against you. So if someone said, again, the things that we cover, like of images being used, music within the production, so things like that. If you haven't got obviously the clearances for them, then they could take action against you, and they do have a certain amount of time. So normally, standard in the UK, people normally ask for a 36-month policy with 1 million anyone claim with 3 million aggregate. So you'll get 1 million over that three-year period. Cover. And again, the most important thing, and obviously it is legal defence costs are covered within those policies, because people, unfortunately, we are going the same way. No disrespect, friend, but to the North Americas, and people are claiming for everything or trying to get money for everything. So that is something to be wary of.
Okay, so E&O, how are you getting on with your E&O insurance, Zoe and Daya?
Well,
they're not.
I'll put it on the list. Yeah.
It's on the list. Yeah,
on the list.
I guess that's why we're here. So we had no.
Well, it's always good to know these things, right?
Yeah. And also with E&O insurance, you do actually need media law clearance on the script, title, that type of stuff. So there will be questions within the form.
Okay.
And it probably leads me on nicely to again, I think
Fiona, pro bono lawyer.
Christine sort of touched on it earlier.
Sorry.
Yeah. So what, again, I've been in the industry, as I said, for sort of 13 years, and I'll probably go to the opening of an envelope. My wife doesn't like me too much for doing it, but I do, just to meet people, because I'm very interested in things. And again, I think we met at the Birmingham but the thing, it's sort of two things that I did here was, one was, is my internet gone? Sorry. Is it still here?
Yeah.
Sorry. So it was finance. Now, unfortunately, my company's quite big, but they won't allow me to finance a feature film or TV series. We do run a short film competition though, which is quite good for us, I think. So and the other thing was a high sort of difficult insurance law and sometimes tax was like or accountancy within a film. So I have a good relationship with a media accountant and media lawyer. Obviously, there are others around, and you probably have relationships yourself. But what we try to do is we sort of listen to our clients, and what we're trying to do is trying to streamline the whole production process. Well, the sort of the strap line's very corny. I did come up with it, I have to confess. So excuse me, but it's let creators create. We want to take all the crap stuff away from you, all the stuff in the background. And although there are three different services and three totally different things, but if we all sometimes ask the same questions, so if we can sit in the background and let the production team just get on with what they're good at, and just streamline everything to make it a lot easier. And again, you probably heard a little bit in the Birmingham Film and TV. We did sort of aim it at emerging filmmakers, but it's got a great response at the Birmingham Film TV market, plus the Film London production finance market, from well-established filmmakers and TV producers, because they're saying, why didn't someone think about it earlier? And it does sort of make sense. And again, we're launching it on Wednesday. So yeah, the full launch, we did a soft launch on at the Birmingham Film and TV market last October, and also the Film London production finance market. But yeah, it's an exciting project. Again, we want to try and make things a lot easier for production teams. So we think we've found a way to do so. And yeah, so
can I ask you, in making it a lot easier, would that mean that it's also cheaper for a producer for a film to use services because you're providing legal, insurance, accountancy services?
Yes, again, we are, as we provide three different services. What we've agreed is if you take on the three services, you actually get 10% off each service. The insurance, legals, and finance. Again, I think there are two aspects depending on exactly what you need from them. So again, the legals who are reviewed and cleared, they can start from the beginning. So they can start from scratch and do your business affairs, your contracts, all things like that. Then you'd probably speak to the guys at Elliott's and maybe myself to a certain extent. If you're doing budgets, so your tax credits, you're obviously budgeting purposes and things like that. So you can get your budget set and your budget ready to go. Then you'd probably be in pre-production, so you look into the insurance again. Maybe with obviously the accountancy firm Elliott's holding your hand throughout the whole production, same as ourselves here at Performance. And then, as we just mentioned, with the E&O, you get the legal guys involved again with the clearance checks and everything you need to obviously get the production aired.
So essentially, you're a one-stop shop now.
Yeah.
That's the idea, that I can sit down with you. I've got a script. I know what I need. I've got my cast and crew attached. Or I've got them, it's early stages. So I'd come to you and you can help me then with the contracts.
Yep.
You can help me with the production insurance, and you can help me apply for my film tax credit.
Tax credits.
Yeah, okay. And for
sounds too easy, doesn't it feel?
No, sounds like tick, tick, tick. Yeah. And for that, you're going to take 10%. I would get, if I work with all three services.
Offer general costs, yeah.
Yeah, okay, for general, all right. So there wouldn't be, is there going to be a stage where there would be one price for all the services?
No, again, we'll all be using, again, with ourselves, the insurance aspect, it depends on, we use various insurers, as I mentioned. So it depends on the production. Some insurers are rated higher for things that are filmed abroad, some are the same. And so it would be hard for me to get one insurer involved and have one set price.
Yeah.
Likewise with the guys in the sort of law and accountancy firms, it depends what service you need from them, because some people won't need all their services.
Yeah. No.
So again, someone would maybe has a friend that's a accountant's going to do all the contract. The lawyer's going to do all the contracts. They don't need the errors and omissions bit. So it's hard for that. And again, because the services, even though they are joined up a little bit, they're totally different. It's hard for us to come to a sort of fixed price for it. But we have fixed it at sort of 10%, providing you use all three services.
And can you tell us what is in terms of insurance as production companies, what area are most producers having to claim in?
I think the most common one would be the equipment getting damaged. Again, things that I'm saying, again, performance, we insure like everything across the board, from freelancers to kit hire to post houses. But one thing we do see is kit houses saying that things are damaged, and someone said, well, it wasn't us and things like that. But I just, the advice that I give, and again, I sort of give a sort of tick sheet, well, not a tick sheet, a sort of things, who to contact and claims, and my own details and things, what to do in event of a claim for each production, would be to have a checklist for when you receive the kit, what's working, what's not, have someone to test it, and likewise when you're sending it back, so then you can say, look, we checked it here. And
yeah.
But
I mean, in my case, it was a problem. It was a camera fault.
Yeah, so that would be a multimedia claim, probably.
Yeah, and it was, it was
media claim.
Tested beforehand. It was tested after. It was a really hard fault. It was a tiny fault, but it created a ghost on the image that was a real problem.
Yeah.
But then also, personally, on every production that I've been on, we've had to do claims in, for the vans. For the art department van, that's always been a phenomenal issue.
Yeah, and again, that works the same way as hire companies do. It's like when you're hiring a car abroad yourself. They ask you to go around and look everything. They say, "Oh, this is dented, and it could have been dented before." So that's another thing we do advise, to make sure that you've gone around that van with a fine tooth comb to make sure any dents that you've pointed out to them, because they do chance alarm. Yeah, unfortunately. And again, that is a good reason for buying insurance, because at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10 the insurer will pay out. Again, I've got a sort of claims example for sort of employer's liability, and this sort of leads me on it. One of my clients cast someone, and she done the medical and things like that, and said, take the direct declaration of health, said she hasn't visited the doctors, and then all of a sudden come out she was pregnant. Now, you can't get pregnancy cover. So you can, but it's generally after sort of 12 weeks, with a 12-week term. But this was before, and we asked for the pregnancy cover. The insurer said no. This person put in a claim, went to the union, etc. And the production company obviously came to us panicking, which is understandable, because they were going to lose face. They wanted they were going to release a statement through the trade association that the lady was involved in, and just to save face, the insurers sort of paid out in the employer's liability for emotional stress, and it was paid out of court. The sort of broadcaster also, who were financing the movie, also the TV series, also said that we'll pay a little bit of the claim as well, just to basically save face. And sometimes insurers have to make that decision for their client, because again, the production company are their client as well. So
okay, so in that case, they did not employ the actor.
No.
And what was the issue there? Because this is something that does arise quite often.
The issue was, well, again, she did tick the declaration of health form and stated she hadn't been to hospital in 2 years, which again, if she was pregnant, which she was claimed she was after being cast, then because we asked for pregnancy cover, so then she sort of lied on it. But again, it's accusations, and it was just to save face. Basically, the production company again panicked because they thought their name was going to be muddled, and the insurers understood that. They took it. And again, that's our job as brokers, to say, look, I know this may be wrong, but we've got to look at the bigger picture for your client.
You hire an actor who who's been filming, maybe you've got them for, if it's an indie film, you've got a 7-week shoot, you've got 3 weeks rehearsal. So you're going to be working with them for about 10 weeks, then you're going to go into post. Post doesn't matter, that they're pregnant, that's fine.
Yeah.
So you've got, you hire them, they go and do their medicals, they turn up to be pregnant. What's the issue for the insurance company about using them as a pregnant actor during the shoot?
Well,
if they're not doing any stunts or anything like
there wouldn't have been, but
Okay.
it was before the 12-week term when they
Yeah.
wanted to cover for, and it turned out that she had had a previous miscarriage.
So it's about miscarriage. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I suppose that's the thing to make very clear then. It's about miscarriage. So she had a history of miscarriage.
Yeah, it's not about pregnancy. Again, you can't get pregnancy cover after 12 weeks. So you can't. Again, there'll be additional terms for that. So, well.
Okay. It's interesting. Have you got anything that you'd like to add? Any questions?
Well, I just wondered, for short films, do you offer cover for short films? I'm guessing, yes.
Yeah, we do. As perform, I don't get involved personally, but performance, we actually, again, listen to our, well, it was sort of twofold. We listen to clients, and we also listen to equipment hire companies who we insure also. They were having problems with fraud, and clients were having trouble getting short-term cover. Short-term cover we were doing off ourselves. It was very sort of process heavy for the premiums generated. So we've moved everything probably on, I would say, under 200 grand online. We've got an online platform that you can get a quotation, providing the whole production's been shot within 90 days, and you can have a post-production extension on it for 120 as well. So probably 5 months in total, including post. You can actually do everything online with us. So, and it can also cover kits, just general kits hire, short term, which again, speaking to sort of hire companies, they were getting people coming to them on a Friday at 5 o'clock saying, "Oh, I've got no hired equipment insurance." And again, listen to the hire companies, we sort of do a fraud check as well on that, just because they were having terrible trouble with fraud, where people were just hiring the kit and then not returning it. So again, I was in plan their premiums going forward, because we're having to claim their own policy, because a fraudulent policy then becomes void.
Do you have a kind of do you have a recurring business discount if I keep coming back to you as a loyal producer?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah. Again, each one's on their merit. You know what I'm saying? We obviously speak that we've got a good relationship with quite a lot of people. So yeah, we do with all of our clients, that we try and get them the best premium first off, and give them discounts if they do keep coming back.
Okay, so if, I'm sure you wouldn't advise this necessarily, but in terms of the producer's perspective, is it better to negotiate with you?
Yeah.
Always.
Again, and again, obviously, you probably were being producers yourselves, and we tend to. I'm not. We as sort of brokers in the media world, we use the same insurers, so the premiums we get, they either give first come first serve, or they'll give us the same premium. So they do. So yeah, it's all about relationships, and that's why I do go to the open envelope and get to know people and things like that, because one, you want to trust me that I'll hold your hand throughout the whole process, which again I try to do. Again, I talk about a document I give to my clients when they do a production, just when they call, because again, unfortunately, again, my wife doesn't like me too much for this, but we can't be 9 to 5. We have to work more or less every day, for whatever reason, obviously within reason. You can't just phone me if you're in the UK doing something at 12 o'clock at night, but I probably will answer. That's the thing. So, but yeah, it's all about service levels and things. Yeah. And again, there has been instances that we spoke to a producer and had a bad experience with the insurer on the claim, and they said, don't use this insurer. So we have to go with what the producer says, because if you do have bad claims experience, you probably don't want to go back to them.
Yeah.
So there are that. But again, that's generally on the motor rather than the production insurers, because production insurers, again, over the years that I've been obviously within the industry, they've done a lot of things. They understand the industry, how quickly it moves, how quickly you need things. But they used to sort of not let people again go on the arse shopping. They've tried to sort of restrict creativity. I think they're actually more receptible now to letting people create what they want and how they want it within means. Again, obviously you can't be seen jumping off cliffs and things like that. But yeah, within means. But again, I think the industry's moved on quite a lot from when I first started. People do really understand the risk. They evaluate risks more, and I think that's one thing that I would recommend. Obviously, the stringent risk assessment, get specialists involved, and if you've got any stunts, dangerous sequences, that type of stuff, get stunt people involved, get everything done properly. And
we can talk a little bit about, kind of intimacy on set and how you cover that as an insurance company.
Again, that would probably fall. We haven't had one. Hopefully, I've had a sort of little bit that I thought may have turned into this. And again, I think that would probably be under the employer's liability for the emotion side.
Right.
Again, unfortunately, in the UK, you can't get people saying waivers and get people to say they want to do it. Again, unfortunately, the way the world is going, people are trying to claim for next to anything, so they are. And if someone has got a little bit of gripe, they'll say if they're doing an intimate scene, then they could just say, I didn't want to do this, I was forced to do it, and that's where your claim would occur. So again, it's up to us and the insurers to work with you guys to. And again, sometimes it may, like in the last instance, you may get some sort of negotiation to pay out of court and settle just to save face.
Right. Okay. And in that case, I suppose you're better served. It's exactly like doing stunts. You need a stunt director.
Yeah.
Presumably, if you've got intimate scenes, you need an intimacy director, and that protects you.
Yeah.
Producer.
Exactly, but I think that any first claim will be brought against the production insurance in the first instance. So it's the sort of benefit that there will be some sort of cover in case, providing it's an insurable loss. So
okay, so let's ask Brent and Zoe and Daya. Have you got any questions now that you've got Gareth here and he can't escape? Let's ask some questions.
I do if no one else does.
Yeah, fire ahead.
yeah, of course, yeah.
So I have a question about producing international co-productions. So if I were like to pair up with a producer in another country and we did a co-production, how would we handle insurance? Would it have to be like what country has the majority of the film? Would it be like where it's filming? Where it's post-production? How would we tackle that? And like included in that as well.
And that's a sort of great question because I didn't probably touch on that, and I probably should have. With no matter what, well, it actually depends where you want to set it up. It's normally, again, Brent normally set up special purpose vehicles for a said production, so they limit the liability. So it would be whatever country that SPV set up, you would insure because you have to, and then the way that will work, it would only, so again, if we do some co-production in the North America and I say Canada and the UK, the problem would lie with under the production insurance. We'd have to source it in North America or Canada, again because there's different laws in different states. So over there, it's very, very complicated, as you probably well know. But once you start employing crew that's not based in, again, the states in the US, if the crew's not based in the states, you have to get the local legislation for either workers' compensation or employers' liability or the local equivalent. Like you go to like France and Germany, they actually pay a fund in the government for our equivalent of workers' compensation or employers' liability claims. Okay. So it can become quite messy. What we advise on that is to get a local service company. And so they then become what's called a bona fide subcontractor, and they will have the insurance, again, to check their insurance, that they have the insurance that abides by the local legislation for employment law.
Okay. Thank you. Does that answer your question, Brent?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. What about Zoe and Dea?
Can you explain me again about script and E&O insurance just quickly so I
Yeah, of course. So when you finish a film, it's all done. You'll obviously go to sales agents. You'll go to broadcasters, hopefully, obviously, to get things broadcast. They will ask you to sign a contract, which will stipulate you must need errors and omissions insurance. So the errors and omissions insurance will cover the actual content once it goes to broadcast on whatever platform.
Okay.
So again, claims we've seen for this would be people using images. So you have a brand in the background that you haven't had clearances for.
Yeah.
You've used a bit of music that you haven't had clearances for obviously beyond the timescales you've got to use headset music. So yeah, those type of claims, and they are very common. And again, the big global brands, they do have people that work within the industries checking films and checking content.
Wow. Yeah, makes
to
sense.
take claims against people. They actually do. They employ someone to do it.
Yeah.
If they haven't got the royalties. So, but again, the good thing about it is any, because during lockdown we were inundated with E&O inquiries, and reason being is people just wanted to watch content. So we were getting short films and feature films that have been sort of they've been finished years ago, coming to us saying, look, we've been asked to broadcast a film by XYZ. We need our own insurance. And it was amazing. And the thing with short films is generally has a minimum premium of around £2,500. With short films, some people weren't getting paid even that £2,500 by the broadcaster or the platform or the thing. So for people trying to start up, it was really, really hard and we still get it even though obviously we're not in lockdown, but we still get it. The people doing their festival runs and things, because some festivals will insist on you having errors and omissions insurance also. So it's a tough one whether you want to pay that money to look at the bigger picture, or you don't do the festival run, or you don't put this your content out the film or your project out of broadcast. So it is a bit of a tough one.
When I did my first feature, I was told part of the E&O, because it was a political thriller, it was also checking all the names, all the number plates, all the everything that we had, because someone could sue you going, you're depicting me as, a bad character.
Yeah.
You make up those names, but we never cleared anything before we shot.
It's a very fine line, because the way the one will work is even if someone can make out that you're portraying that person, they could still take action against you, and they could still win in the court saying that's too familiar of who I am. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and that's the way. And again, that's why legal defence costs within an errors and omissions policy are paramount, because that's the first thing they'll protect against, because people will say they'll try and use anything to take a claim against you if they think it, even an idea. You know what I'm saying? Someone's wrote in the back of a cigarette packet that they've got this idea, great idea, and all of a sudden they see your film or your TV production and go, "I had that. I've got it here," and that's what we'll do. So it's.
I guess the best thing to help on the E&O is having your script cleared beforehand. That would help.
And again, I think that's another thing that triple exposure will sort of help at the start, at the beginning. And again, it goes down to, it depends exactly what you want from the sort of the law firm. So if you say, look, I've sort of used this to get this idea, they'll advise you need to do this XYZ checks. Otherwise, we could have problems further down the line.
Okay, so they could potentially flag up issues.
Yeah. And likewise with titles. Obviously, if you've got a title, it's either close or similar to something that someone else has had.
Yeah.
Then they could still put it up there, and they do that type of checks for you. So it does depend exactly again what services they need from. But and again, that's the sort of the beauty about it. We can probably nip things in the bud earlier.
Right. And then I suppose from a producer's perspective, very practically, you have to have your art department and the production designer well and truly on board.
Yeah.
So that everything is cleared as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And you don't have those issues.
Yeah.
As we all know, by the time you get to the E&O,
Could be too late.
Yeah, you're on your knees, you're really tired, you're running out of money. It's hard work, and you still need that before you can get close to, kind of closing a deal with a sales agent. So, yeah.
Just another question with the title. If somebody, like, for example, a band has the same title as we have, but they have to, how do you call it? But they don't have to secure their title, otherwise everybody could use it.
Trademark it.
Trademark it, yeah.
Again, we words, right?
Yeah. To be fair, we had the trouble coming up with triple exposure, funnily enough. And that's what's great about having Alex involved with it, the legal guys, because they were, again, with the trademark, it was gone in certain aspects. So yeah, there was some names that we come up with, and we can't use this. It's been trademarked already. So there are things that you have to sort of check first off. So
okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Daya. Apologies.
No. I put. Is there a crossover between you and a bond company? It's not really the same thing, right? Or
no, it's not. And we do have relationships with bond companies. Bond companies again tend to only get involved, I would say, nowadays with anything probably worth 3 to 5 million probably.
Okay.
And budgets. So and insurers sometimes do insist on sort of bond companies there being a bond within the film or TV project. So they will. So it does just depend on the budget whether you do need to get a bond company involved, to be fair. But again, we've got a relationship with bond companies, so if you do need it bonded, we can sort of advise. But it's totally separate to what insurance would be, to be honest.
Okay. And Daya, have you got anything else that you'd like to? We still have Graham here. Yeah, Gareth here, I beg your pardon.
Okay.
No. Any other questions? Christine, have you got anything that you'd like to?
What's your worst claim?
Oh, yes.
Worst claim?
Yeah, we all want to know that one.
Yes, yeah.
It's not actually directly involved with a production. It's more of a equipment hire company.
Yeah.
They actually made 4 fraudulent claims over a period of probably 6 years. So the first year they came to us, and the person's actually he's been struck off. He's got a suspended sentence, so I can't really say too much. But he came. The first claim he came was £20,000, which is next to nothing. The next one got a little bit bigger. 2 years later, a little bit bigger. And then the last one, the insurer sort of went, this doesn't really sit right. More generally around the same time of year, making these claims. And it turns out that when they scrutinised the invoice he was sending, he was literally doctoring the invoice, and it had the same invoice reference number on it from a well-known manufacturer. So, yeah, that was probably the. And again, there's other instances we have. Again, I'll talk about the sort of equipment hire companies and the fraud that they had. When I first started, it's quite a story that I tell quite a bit. When I first started, I had a post-production company call me up for insurance on a Friday afternoon late, and it was one of those. It was called. I still remember that. Michael Johnson trading as worldwide media or something along those lines. Like, if you Google what we have to do again is do research. This is for an annual client rather than sort of a SPV, or a production insurance. But it was an annual client, so we do research on them. You research Michael Johnson, you're coming up with the 400 meter and 200 meter runner that's gold medalist. So it was hard to get someone thing. You did worldwide media, and there was lots of worldwide media companies. So it was a tough one to do the research on it. But the reason that he sort of flagged up to me was he was a post-production house, but he wanted 500 grand worth of hardware and equipment. They normally, again, post houses will have their own lot of equipment that maybe hire a little bit. but he had minimal owned equipment and a lot of hired-in equipment. So I started asking questions about the alarm, his premises, where his studio was in his house, because he said he worked from home. Where's your studio in your home? So at Google Maps, he said it was on I think it was in the North Circular in London, and I Google mapped it. He said the garage was at the back of the house. There was a garage at the side of the house. Then I asked him more questions about the alarm. He just went silent. And again, as I mentioned, we insure everything at sort of performance. He went silent, didn't hear from him. But then a week later, one of our equipment hire companies called us up and said they'd be done by fraud from a Michael Johnson trading us worldwide. So he got insurance somewhere.
Wow.
And I'd only just started, and I knew enough about at the time to realize post houses normally have their own kit rather than hiring kit. So I flagged to my manager at the time, and that's the sort of. But he actually hit 3, so he got 1.5 million worth of gear. So he hit 3 hire houses.
And then, can I just ask you, what is the weirdest insurance claim that you've had? You know, kind of, or the most. Oh, I hadn't thought that the giraffe would fall ill. That kind of thing.
Well, we've had some foxes and badgers on set. They've knocked sort of cameras over and things like that. But I think one of the funniest was that the production had a unit base, and people actually tried to move into it while they were in there.
Oh, wow.
And it was quite, because again, obviously the kit was in there, most of it was in there, and so it was to get things obviously because sometimes you can't move these type of people, so it was hard to get it because it was a derelict unit base, and they've just obviously rented it to set up production. So and that again was on the short film. So, but it was the insurers ended up obviously paying for the damage to the equipment and actually ransom to get the people out of the house because again I think it goes down to the bigger picture, because if there was more delays and more obviously negotiations, then they could have lost the whole production.
Yeah.
People not being available and things, and sometimes that's the thing. Likewise, again, I mentioned the hire companies. We're seeing more and more that hire company are loss adjusters and insurers because of the continuing hire charges that can wrap up because of equipment not being available or turnaround times with getting things replaced or repaired. Sometimes it's easier just to replace the camera rather because the continuing hire charges wrap up, and we're seeing that more and more. So we are.
Uh-huh.
And again, that's our job to advise on that, and that's to speak to the insurers on it.
So if anybody has got insurance, is seeking insurance, would you recommend, because obviously we're going to record this and this will go on our YouTube channel, would you recommend that they get in touch with you directly?
Yeah, get in contact with me directly.